On today's Locked On Predators, we are joined by Milwaukee Admirals head coach Karl Taylor to talk about the Admirals' deep playoff run last season, what is ahead for the team, and the development of players like Zachary L'Heureux and Yaroslav Askarov.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Friday episode with a hello to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us each and every day. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and in a moment, I will be joined by my partner in crime, Emma Lingen. We will also be joined by Milwaukee Admirals head coach Karl Taylor. Last season, of course, the Admirals made their second consecutive run to the AHL Western Conference Finals. Today, Karl is going to share what helped make that team so successful. We'll also get his insight on player development and what coaching a different generation of hockey players looks like. Before we dive into our conversation with Karl, we do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sportsin' like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There is something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are joined right now by Milwaukee Admirals head coach Karl Taylor. Of course, the Admirals coming off of another incredible season, made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals again. First of all, Karl, thank you for your time. I know this is, quote, the off season. I'm not real sure that there is such a thing when you are the head coach, but we appreciate your time coming on and talking with us.
No, it's my pleasure. It's, the season's sneaking up on us, so it's good to get a little bit of a little reminder of that the action is coming, even though we're in the middle of August where you're trying to get some downtime.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you about the off season and how you navigate that. Of course, the postseason, again, went very long for the Admirals. How does that look for you as a head coach? How long do you kind of take to process the season that was? Do you get downtime and what do you do with it? And then how quickly are you transitioning to plans for next season?
Yeah, well, the last 2 years we played fairly deep, which is a good thing. But it also shortens your time off. What happens is we played till, I think, June 10th, June 15th, something like that the last couple of years. And so you're running into the draft and development camp. So it almost is all that part of your season has been connected the last 2 years. So there isn't a lot of time in between the draft and also the end of the season for us the past 2 seasons. And so that makes it kind of just blur together a little bit. And then after the development camp, we get some time to decompress. Obviously, we've done our exit interviews with our players prior to leaving at the end of the season and gone through that process. But after the development camp, we get a little more of an extended straight through time until we fly into Nashville. I think it's September the 10th we're coming in for camp this year. So it gives us some time. Off season for us, it is, we do get some downtime. Management is the fortunate ones that go out and select players and get into negotiating and signing players and all that process. So we're not directly related to any of that. So we get a little more free time after the games stop being played.
Want to talk about last season and the postseason run that this team went on. The entire season, regular season, also really special. And when the postseason wrapped up, you had mentioned, and Kevin Gravel also talked about just how special this past season's team was. What was it that worked so well with that particular group of players?
I just think it's a good mix. I think our staff and our management group really worked at trying to bring them together. We had a lot of youth last year, a lot of energy from the youth. And then our leadership group was excellent again, which we've been very fortunate in all my years here in Milwaukee. Our captains and our leadership group have been very strong in supporting the coaching staff's messaging. So I think that's a big piece of it. But I also think it's a process of going through different things. Our young group, we felt early in the year might struggle, and they got through that pretty quickly for us. Obviously, the win streak and going on that run and going through that process. But then when it ended, it was almost like the season was over a little bit because it was such an event and such a thing the players were riding. And I think it really helped our young players prepare for playoffs and understand the process of those things and how to compartmentalize and move on each and every day. But I think all those things connected really brought the group together. And it's just the way the season goes, the different things that occur, injuries, challenges. I think all the things within the season is what can really help your team group together. And it's the adversity, it's the travel, it's the team building events that we put on, all the different things that you try to do. But in the end, it's up to the players, and the group really enjoyed being around each other. The previous year, we had an excellent group as well. It was an older group, but it was a great group that really enjoyed each other as well. So every year in the American League, our team changes probably more than the NHL typically. So you're starting over. So it's exciting with new players coming in, but there's also a little bit of sense of loss. And not from losing the games, but some players won't be back this coming season. And so you build really close relationships with their families, and whether it's wives or girlfriends or significant others, and the children involved, and you get really close. So the longer you play through different opportunities, you get close, and it's just part of the parcel of the process. But it does get a little bit, you get sad sometimes because there is some sense of loss when people move on. It is part of the business. We understand that, but you really invest in each other. And fortunately, we've been able to create something in Milwaukee over the last 6 years that has been very special. And I think Milwaukee's a pretty good destination for anyone looking for a place to play these days.
You talk about that sense of kind of starting over when it's with a new team or new players, new individuals, but you also kind of had the added challenge this past season of sort of starting over with obviously the hire of Andrew Brunette in Nashville, obviously the implementation of a new system in the NHL or at the NHL level affects you as well, and how you have to implement a newer system or kind of a modified system, I guess, in Milwaukee to put these guys in the best position to be successful at the NHL level. So what has that transition been like for you, kind of going from a John Hines system to an Andrew Brunette system? How much did it really impact your coaching style or the way that you work to develop these players?
Yeah, I think your style is going to be pretty consistent. I've been doing this a few years now, and so how you're always searching to learn, you're always searching to get new ways of reaching individuals or building relationships or becoming a better coach and a better mentor. But I think how you deliver the message, it's the actual message that you're delivering. So instead of playing this in the neutral zone, you're doing something a little different. Every coach has their own wrinkles. Every coach that's been in Nashville has said, hey, we like you to do these things, and can you play? A lot of it is pretty consistent to how we like to play here. So there's not a lot of conflict there. There's a few things that you're going to always talk about and discuss. In the end, our job is 100% to make NHL players for the Nashville Predators, as well as trying to win and have success here in Milwaukee. You can do both. I think we've proven that over the years, but adjusting to a new coach, new system, all those things. Bruno seems to be a great guy in all my experience with him. And the exchanges we've had has been very positive. They had a great season last year. Obviously, that was a great run and kind of an unexpected result for what people were kind of going into the season thinking. So it's been very enjoyable, and we like the fresh outlook. There's always a new way and a different way of looking at things. And so for us as a staff, it allows us to view, okay, why are you doing this? Why you do it this way? We would do it this way. So you get some great discussions out of that and some conversation pieces. And in the end, we're going to play like the Nashville Predators because we want to make sure when the players get called up, it's very easy for them to transition and to have great success at the next level.
Coming up, Karl shares his thoughts on Zachary L'Heureux's first season in the AHL, and he tells us how he feels watching Yaroslav Askarov in net. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much I never want them to stop. But friends, as the playoffs have wound down, we're getting fewer games and the sports aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. Preseason football is kicking off, but you don't have to wait for the regular season to get in on the action. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. One of the players this past season who really seemed to capitalize on the message that you were giving them is Zachary L'Heureux, his first season with the Milwaukee Admirals. And I have to tell you, heck of a lot of fun to watch him last season. When you look at what he accomplished in the regular season, and then especially being able to, as a young player, really step up into a bigger role in the postseason, what do you take away from his first season? And what should we know in Nashville about Zachary L'Heureux?
He's a driver. He's an individual that is going to have an impact in the game. He's when you're building lines and trying to build combinations that are going to work, you always want a driver on a line, and he qualifies for that. He's an individual that is very motivated. I thought he progressed, not just because he had success in the regular season, and obviously he scored quite a bit in the playoffs, had a lot of success as far as the scoring. But he's a young man who is willing to learn, wants to take it in, wants to have impact, wants to make a difference. He demands other players to match his intensity and to match what he brings to the game. Even as a young rookie, he was probably one of our leaders from our first year group last year. And he just was a joy to be around, a joy to coach. His upside's huge. What a great first season. What a great opportunity for him moving forward. And, everyone's got their own development path. We never know how it's going to play out for anyone, but he definitely had a great season and still room to grow in different areas, but definitely set himself up for success.
If you are looking at another player that, of course, people are talking a lot about here in Nashville, Yaroslav Askarov is another name that comes to mind immediately. It's been interesting to see the past two seasons. He's had really good relationships with his goaltending partner, Troy Grosnick and Devin Cooley. How have those, that tandem pairs, how have they helped Yaroslav Askarov develop? And what do you see from him as a head coach? Because I will tell you, he causes me anxiety just as someone who watches him.
Yeah, no,
does he do that for you?
He's active back there at times, and as the coach of that situation where he's playing pucks or being aggressive in his play, all those things that sometimes you're like, should he do that or not? I think most of the time his decision making is really strong, and with those decision makings, eventually there's one or two a year that's going to sting you. But do you want to give up the 98 really good ones to get rid of the two bad ones? And as coaches and as we tend to focus on the negative too much at times, but you don't want to take away the good. And that's something I've really focused on. Our staff is focused on that. So Askey's been great. He's had two great seasons. He's a great individual to work with. His goalie partners have been outstanding in different ways. Obviously, Cools was chasing and Troy was in a different spot as far as being a veteran guy and someone to lean on. And they both supported him awesome. I thought it was been 2 great years for him to learn from 2 different personalities in 2 different situations. Obviously, Devin is in Calgary now, so we wish him the best, unless we play them at some point. But we wish him the very best. But it's Askey's had a great path. He's so young. Everyone has to remember he's 2 years in. He's still 21 years old, I believe, is his age, and that's really young for a goaltender. He's played, I don't know what it is, 120 games in the American Hockey League. He's played playoff games. he's so far ahead of the curve as far as the experience that he's gaining and learning and processing and then bringing it to the table. So I think he's had a great 2 years, and we're excited to see where it's going to go in the future.
Growth and change isn't just for players in hockey. Coming up, Karl talks to us about coaching a new generation of players and shares what's ahead for the Milwaukee Admirals next season. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you are into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. A lot of talk and excitement around these young players, but don't want to overlook the veterans that Milwaukee has on their team. And I really wanted to ask you specifically about Cal O'Reilly. Of course, set the franchise scoring record this past season. He also seemed, it appeared like he played quite a bit with some of these younger players as well. And I'm just curious, what do you see from him from a leadership perspective, and how does he affect the younger players that are around him?
Yeah, Cal's a quiet guy, and obviously he's played whatever it is, 20 years. And all the accolades he got last year. It was really fun to enjoy that ride with him and his family. And our owner Harris Tour did a great job with some of the ceremonies, rewarding the leading scorer of all time, all the different things. It was really fun to be a part of that. But Cal's a quiet guy, goes about his business. He's very professional. You probably see it in his brother as well. They're the first guy on the ice, last guy off, all those types of things. So obviously there's some consistency in the parenting there for sure. So tip a hat to his mom and dad, but he just sets the example when you see a guy that's played so long and so many games, and he's I don't even know what Cal is. I think he's 38 now, but he's got 3 kids buzzing around, and they're at the rink, and we love the energy of that. And when the young players see they're trying to sneak off the ice because they got a tea time or they want to leave early because they're tired, or there's something else going on that they deem as more important in the moment, and Cal's down at the other end working on things. Just the presence of that really makes it difficult for those young guys to not feel the heat or the pain or the guilt of trying to slide out the side door. So the example he sets, I guess, is what I really want to make sure is very clear, is he sets a standard for our older players, our younger players, for everyone around our organization. So we can't put a value on that, because it's when you're trying to set culture and environment and your expectations in the locker room, it's not what the coaches says, it's what's said in the next 10 seconds when the coach leaves the room that matters. In the end, that's what the players listen to. So I know Cal's a big part of the messaging, and we really appreciate everything. We're very happy to have him back.
You talk about him as a good example for the young players. When you have players coming into the AHL for their first year, what is the biggest challenge to their development on and off of the ice? What is the hardest thing and the first thing that you really want them to understand about their position and their role?
Yeah, I think the key thing here is remember with development, they're all individuals, and so it's hard to group them together. Mm-hmm. You could have someone from Russia, you could have someone from Finland, you could have someone from North America, from Germany, from wherever. People come from all over the world now to chase their NHL dreams, and with that, there's also different culture expectations. There's different parenting, all the things that happen and shape people. It's very the variance is you can't treat them the same. That's the number one thing coming into them. But last year we had a very young group, very talented, a lot of high draft picks, and Just for example, this new age, we always talk about the entitlement and all these things that people want to, when they go down the negative path. But for me, it's I think, and I'm part of this as a parent, is the helicopter generation. I think we tend to try to fix things and not allow them to fail enough. And so one of the things we try to do early in the season, we did it before training camp last year. Once we got reassigned as a group to Milwaukee, and we sat down with all the first year players and we just said, look, like, this is hard. You're going to have, there's going to be some failure you're going to have to deal with. And as long as it's not long-term failure, then it's okay. Those are growth moments. It's what you do after these things occur. But we're trying to make it okay and make it a safe environment so these young kids are so set up for success. They haven't had a lot of failure in their hockey or in life. And so when it does come, it seems a lot more drastic. And instead of being on a drastic end of something, we were trying to push things more to the middle. And so that they understand that this is just part of the process. There's going to be days it's hard. There's going to be days where it's complicated, and it's okay. Embrace it. We're going to help you through it. Don't get frustrated. Just dig in, and we're going to find solutions for you as you work through it. And that's the new art of coaching, is trying to assist a new generation of young people and young adults that are trying to chase a dream, but also you can't give them the solution all the time. You have to let them source it out on their own, so that, that's going to be repeatable action from them instead of them waiting for someone to tell them how to do it or what to do.
Love that. Love that. Looking ahead to next season, what are you most excited about? What are some challenges that you want to address before 2024-25 kicks off?
Yeah, every year is an independent year. It's not like you build year to year in the American League. I think in the NHL, it's more like that. Major junior hockey and U.S. college hockey before the transfer portal was more like that. It's a little different now. It's probably more like the American League now. But you don't have that consecutive building from year to year. You kind of go back and you start over again. Each year is kind of independent for us. Now, we did have a lot of young first-year players. Now they're all young second-year players. So we're anticipating some growth there. Selfishly, we want to beat Palm Springs. We don't want to lose to those guys again.
Yes.
2 years in a row is enough. We'd like to advance through the playoffs and get to the finals and have an opportunity to win the championship, obviously. But you can't predict these things. And so just because we've been there the last 2 years in the conference finals, that doesn't mean that's going to happen this year. There's it's such a long road and different things that are going to occur, whether it's injuries or opportunities, or you can't predict those things. And so for us, we're going to embrace the change of the roster and the new players coming in and trying to get them to understand what it means to be a Milwaukee Admiral as quickly as possible and get everyone up to speed. But every season is its own entity. So we're excited for the new year, but we're still going to enjoy these next, 4 weeks of downtime.
Karl Taylor, want to thank you so much for your time. Also, just thank you for providing Nashville with such a great resource and some really excellent hockey to watch as well. Last season was incredible. I know everybody up here is looking forward to puck drop for next season in Milwaukee as well. So thank you for your time and best of luck in 2024-25.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Emma and I want to thank Karl Taylor for joining us to talk about the Milwaukee Admirals. A lot of good things happening in Milwaukee, and we will, of course, continue to cover the Admirals as they kick off their season October 11th. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.